Hello guys, welcome to Code Heaven. Today I'm going to show you about the REST API. So we are going to make a new web API project, and in that project I'm going to show you how to add and how to add identity to our web API project. Identity is a default package provided by Microsoft, and it is used to authenticate and authorize our endpoints. So let's get started. At first, let's create a new solution, new project. So let's call this uh, a web API. Create a new project. Let's make ASP.NET Core Web API. Let's select this one, and let's call this web API. And next, in here you can use this one to use the controllers, and if you want to use minimal APIs, you can just uncheck this one to use the minimal APIs. For now, let's just use the controllers. I'll make a different video to use the minimal APIs later on. You can check or uncheck this Open API support. Open API is, when you check the Open API support, it will give you the Swagger documentation by default. So let's use this one. And do not use top level statements. So this one is for uh, so when we check this one, it will generate explicit program class and main method instead of top level statements. So let's just leave it like this. And in here, the authentication type, so we will use none for the moment. We won't use Microsoft Identity Platform or Windows. Okay. And let's create. So after we created it, our solution explorer would look like this. We'll have one weather forecast controller, and inside program.cs we have this Swagger Gen middleware as well, and authorization. Okay, let's run this application and see what we've got. So it's the Swagger documentation has come up. So if we click this get, it will show us what kind of response we can expect from this weather forecast endpoint. If we click try it out and execute, so we'll get these responses in JSON format. Okay. So this is the beauty of Swagger. So it makes us easy for the developers. We don't even need to open Postman. You can do the same thing from the Postman as well, but this just makes our life much more easier. Okay. So, we got this weather forecast class here. It's a model class, weather forecast controller here. So now let's add identity to our application. So for that, at first we'll need to add some packages. Let's open new get package manager and let's search for Microsoft dot SPNet core dot identity dot entity framework. Yeah, this one. Let's install this one. Let's make sure you have the right version of this project. Currently I have .NET 7, so I'm choosing this 7 version of the entity framework. You can choose which version of the .NET you are using by clicking this web API project, and in this target framework there you can see it's .NET 7. Okay. So once you have installed this one, we also need to install, let's install entity framework as well to connect to our database. ENTI framework, we did the core one, so it's this one. Let's install this one as well. I accept. So this one is installed as well. After that, we need entity framework core dot design. We need this design for running the entity framework core migration commands. Let's install this one as well and accept. This is also installed. Okay. As soon as it's installed, it says it's installed and it will also give which version we have installed. After that, we also need to choose package for the database. Let's use framework.sql server for now. Let's install this. After that, we also need to install entity framework more tools. Let's install this one as well. Okay, yep, it's installed now. Now almost all of our packages are installed. So after this, we'll need to make a class for DB context. So let's make a new folder. Let's add a new folder. Let's call this folder as data, and inside this data, we'll add a new class. Let's call this class application DB context. And this class would inherit from identity DB context. And then we'll just add a constructor. The constructor will have this DB context options and with base options. Okay. So this is basically we're passing these options inside the base class in the constructor of the base class. Now let's open the our program.cs file, and inside this we'll add, so in the services we'll add the DB context. So let's write builder dot services dot add DB context, and inside DB context we need application DB context, and with options such that options dot use, so we'll be using SQL Server, so it's use SQL Server, and we need to give the connection string, so it's configuration configuration dot get connection string. So let's press Ctrl and dot in configuration. Okay, so configuration. We need to inject this configuration. So it's actually it should be inside the builder dot configuration, and inside this configuration we will have get connection string, and let's call this default connection. Yep. And then we also need to add the identity. So builder dot services dot add identity. Inside identity we need to add identity user, using the identity role, options such that options dot sign in dot require confirm account is equal to true. Dot add entity framework store, and inside that we need application DB context application. Yeah, this one. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And we also need this default connection string in our app settings. So let's add that. So after this, before allow host, let's add this one, default connection. Let's just say this as connection strings, and inside that let's add default connection, and inside default connection we need server is equal to, let's just say dot is for localhost, and initial catalog would be, initial catalog means database name. Let's say my web API DB, and integrated security equal to true. This means it will take the Windows authentication for the database by default. There's some mistake. Let's fix this one. Okay, that will come up in. Okay. So this default connection string will be using in program.cs. That's done. Now we'll need to let's run this application. Let's build this application first to see if there's any errors. Okay, looks like there's no error. Build succeeded. Now we'll need to go to package manager and package manager console, and we need to add dash. We need to add migration. Let's call this post. Let's just call this initial, and enter. The build started, build succeeded, and it's working. You see? So these are the, so it's going to create new tables called SPNet roles, SPNet users, SPNet role claims, and so on. And after this, we need to update this database. Okay. But there is some error. It says our connection was successfully established with the server, but error occurred during login process. The service chain was so let's copy this error and let's search for this error over internet. So let's use Google Chrome. Let's go to Stack Overflow. And it's saying encrypt is equal to true. Let's use encrypt is equal to true. In the connection string. And let's update database once again. Looks like it still has some error. So encrypt is equal to true. So it looks like we'll also have to use trust. Certification is equal to true. Instead of encrypt true, it should be encrypt is equal to false. It should be actually false, not true. Okay. Let's run this one. Looks like it's working now. So guys, if this same issue came to you as well, just put encrypt is equal to false, not true. Okay. Now let's go to our SQL server. You can go to SQL server from here as well. Go to Server Explorer and connect database. Server name would be searching for the server name. Let's just put dot in the server name since we have it save in connection string. And our database name is MyWebAPI. And let's test connection. It says test connection succeeded. And okay. So it's this database. And inside this database, we've got some tables. So these are the tables. Probably these tables are empty at the moment. So as you can see, these are the tables available in our database. Currently, these tables are empty, so we can't see any data from here. Yeah. So now let's run this application. So currently we've got only this weather forecast. We need to add some more endpoints to create user and roles. So we are going to do that. First, let's try to authorize our endpoint called this weather forecast. Let's put authorize here. Now, if you try to execute this, so it's giving us error code 404, which is unauthorized. 404 is actually not found. For some, it should be 401 unauthorized actually. But anyway, it's not giving us, it's not allowing us to enter this endpoint. So for that, we'll need to add some users with the, and then we need to authenticate those users. We need to add username and password so that we can log in, and then only we can access this endpoint. So currently our application is a web API application, and our application would probably be consumed by many different client-side applications. Could be a web application, client-side single-page applications like Angular or React. Can also be a mobile application or desktop application. So to make these endpoints available to these platforms, we most of the times these APIs are using JWT bearer token authentication. So let's include JWT tokens in our application. So JWT basically stands for JSON Web Token, and this JWT token has three parts. Actually, it's separated by dots. One is header, payload, and signature. So let's add a NuGet package. Um, the package name would be JWT bearer. So it's Microsoft Authentication JWT bearer. It's this one. And let's install this. It's okay. Let's see if it's installed. Yes, it's installed now. Now after that, we can go to program.cs file, and then here we'll use JWT section. So let's just add controllers. Let's add this over here. That JWT section is equal to builder dot configuration dot get section. So we'll be adding this section in our app settings. The name would be, let's say, JWT bearer token settings. And then the builder dot services dot configure JWT bearer token setting. Peer JWT peer. So we have to create. We need to create this class first, and inside this, we'll pass this JWT section. So let's make a new class. What we can do is we can generate this class in new file. Yeah. JWT settings. Let's call this. Let's make this public settings, and inside we need some properties. Properties are like string. We need secret key. Just copy this and paste 4 times. One is another is we need audience, issuer, and another is expiry time in seconds. So that's done. And after that, so we get JWT section from here. And we will be configuring this section in this type. And after that, we also need JWT bearer token settings equal to JWT section dot get. We need this in this type. So this one. And from that, we will need key will be equal to dot ls ascii dot get bytes JWT bearer token settings dot secret key. And then we'll need to add this as middleware in builder dot services dot add authentication and options such that options dot yes, default authentication scheme would be now JWT bearer defaults dot authentication scheme and options dot default challenge scheme is equal to JWT bearer defaults the authentication scheme. Dot add. Now we need to add JWT error here and options such that options dot require yes, this would be false. For saving time, to save this time, let's not type everything one by one. I'll just copy and paste this piece of code, and you can just pause the video and copy this one. Okay. So after this authentication middleware is added. After this builder.build in this app here, this is usually the configure method that we had in startup class. So now we don't have those configure method, but instead it's replaced by this where app is called the builder.build, and inside what we'll have to use is we have to call this app dot use authentication method. So this should be called before authorization. And one more thing that we have to use is we can also use allow course. Yeah, we can do that later when we consume the application. For now, that's fine. Now the state of the authentication is added. Let's build this application. Now build is succeeded. Now let's make a controller. Let's make a controller called, let's make an API controller. Let's make an empty controller for now. Let's call this account controller, where we'll be using the user registration, login, and logout functionality. So here, uh, let's create a function for registration part. So let's make a method called register. If this method would return by action result, method would have some user details like login, like username, password, email. So this one will have to make a TTO. So let's create a new class. So let's create a new folder first. Let's create a new folder. Let's call this model. And inside models, we'll have a new class for user details. Inside user details, we'll need one string for, let's say, username, another for password, and another for email. And these are required fields. Let's annotate these with required. So these are data annotations so that by default it will give some validation here if these fields are not passed by the client side. Okay. So let's update this class name. Look inside here as user details. So now if this model state is not valid, this one. If this is not valid, or if user details is null, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna return new bad request. So we're gonna return new bad request result. Let's not use this one. We've got another bad request class. So inside here, we'll just pass method called please fill in all the file fields for now. After that, we'll use this identity user. We'll create a new object for a user. New identity user. So the username would be whatever that's come from user details. Dot username, email would be user details dot email. After that, we'll be using this identity user object. We pass this object, create a sync from in user manager. For So we'll need a user manager, and for that we'll need to create a constructor. Let's create a constructor, and then yeah, we'll need user manager and need a identity user manager. Create an assigned field. And for result equal to, let's make this async as well, async task. So we need to pass the identity user here, and then password as well. And password can come from with user details or password. So this would create a new user into our database. If, if result has succeeded, let's see what else, what kind of properties do we have inside create async. If not identity result. That succeeded. We will need to await this one. Then we get it succeeded. Yeah. Uh, let's create a model, like model of the model dictionary to add the possible errors for each, where error in the result dot errors dictionary dot add model error dot code, and then description as well. Okay, and then we'll return this. Return these errors to the content. New send message is equal to user registration failed, errors is equal to this dictionary. Else, you just return okay. So when we return okay, it will go as status code 200, which means success. This is equal to user registration successful. Okay, so by running this one, we'll create a new user. Now let's run this application. There is some issue in here. This is object reference subject to in sense of object will be a set. Oh, I think that's because I haven't set any settings in the app settings. So we need this JWT peer token settings in app settings.json. So let's put that JWT settings in here. Inside we have need that secret key. Secret key would be, let's just say, crazy box. We need audience. So our audience would be the same that we have in our launch setting.json. So that's actually our application URL. This is probably this one. Sure. Sure would also be the same. Let's put slash main as well. We also need the expiry time in seconds. Okay, let's keep 60 seconds. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So work now. Okay, another issue. But it's keeping some shear, fetch error, response is 500. Looks like there's some error. Let's look. Let's refresh this. Okay. This is probably some error in our account controller. Let's try to debug this. So by looking at this code, I figured what's going on. What was the issue for getting those error in Swagger? So here we have to put HTTP post, since we'll be getting these user details from body. So we'll be using this HTTP post in here. And now let's start this application once again. So if we go to localhost, now we can see the API endpoint here. Now we can try this out. We can put a username here. For example, for Helen. Just keep a random password for now. Random 1 2 3. Email would be info@helen.com. Let's put a breakpoint in here and execute this code. So if you hover over the user details, you get all these email, password, and username information here. And you can press F10 to debug. As you can see, now a new identity user instance is created. And we put username and password here, username and email here. But for password, we'll have to send the identity object here and password separately inside create async. If you press F11, it will create a new user with password here, and in the user will get either success or fail. It looks like currently it is failed and saying password must have at least one non-alphanumeric character. Let's press F5 to run this application, and we'll get the same error response in here. It says, so it's validation error, 400, status code 400 means validation error, and the user registration failed, and it's saying password must have at least one uppercase, and another password must have at least one alphanumeric character. So let's put one uppercase and one alphanumeric character. So let's do that again. Instead of random, let's put random 1 2 3, and let's also put hash first for alphanumeric character. Now use F10. Yeah, it's succeeded. See, there is no errors. And if it's not succeeded, we're throwing those errors. Like for each errors, we are just putting in the dictionary, and we are sending the dictionary before. But now the success, we'll just get this success message. You see, we got success message. Now if you check the database, we'll see these users are created. In this way, we can our user registration is created. Now let's create a login user as well. Let's stop this for a moment. Now, if you see in the check in the Swagger, our endpoint is just saying API/account, right? But we want to give this, since it's a register endpoint, let's give let's give it a new name called API/account/register. Okay, for that we'll have to put slash register in here. Let's restart this application. Okay, now it's coming as slash register. If you also want API, we can put slash API in here as well. But for now, slash register is all right. Now let's make a new method. Let's make a new entity. Let's keep HTTP get. This time is for login. So public async. Let's make this asynchronous as well, so that it doesn't block main thread. action result login. So in login, we'll need username and password. So to actually this start get, it should be post as well. Yeah, because we'll take the input fields from the form. So in this it should be from body element, since we're taking this data from the body. Actually, we need to put from body in here as well. Sometimes this API controller it will add from body in here as well. Due to this API controller, it's not necessary to put from body because it will validate this for us. If we don't put this API controller, then it's compulsory to put this from body. For now, let's put from body to make a standard approach. And we need to make a one TTO object. Let's say user details. Where did we put our TTO? User details inside models. Okay, so we need to make a new model here. So let's make a new model here. Let's call these login credentials. And inside, let's put drop and double tap. We need a username and password in here. Control C, Control V, it's the password. Okay. Now let's put this in here. Login credentials. And here okay, to save the time, I'll just bring my code from here and I'll explain you what these codes are doing. So if these login credentials is not valid, for example, if say they have not provided this username or password. Let's put this as uh, required, required, and required as well. Okay. Required means these two fields are compulsory. So if these are not valid, then we'll send this login failed error. Validate user credentials. We don't need this part at the moment. Then login failed. Then we'll need to generate a token. Let's press control dot to generate a new method. Yeah, and inside this method, identity user, we need to generate this. Actually, we need to make these. So now what we'll have to do is let's undo. Actually, we need this validate method as well. Let's create this validate method. Okay. So inside this validate method, to save time, I'm just bringing in this code. So what we need to make this user inject this user manager as a dependency. It's already in here. Okay. So we need to bring in this user manager. It should be underscore credentials dot username. Credentials dot username is inside there. It's a typo. Credentials dot username. So what we do is we'll we'll check if this username that's sent by the user from front end, if it exists in our database. If it doesn't exist, if it exists, if it is it's not visible null means it exists in our database. If it exists, then we verify the hash password hash. From here we also get the hash password and the password sent by the user. We check this one if it's success, then if it's failed, then we'll say null. Otherwise, we'll send the identity user. We'll just return the identity user in here. Okay. Credentials. This should be in here. Credentials. So if model is not valid or if credentials is null, then we'll send this bad request or this if is identity user is not equal to null. If it's null, then when it's validate, it if it didn't validate, then it will return as null. So if it's null and the user is null, then login is failed. If it's valid, then we'll just send it a token here. Okay. So let's create a new method to generate the token. I'm bringing the generate token method and I'll explain that to you guys. So generate token, yeah. So here is we need to be in this JWT pair token settings. So these JWT pair token settings will get these settings from our app settings. We need to add that there. So to get those data from app settings, we need to inject this first in our constructor as an options. So let's generate the properties for this one, fields for this one. Let's consider tokens options. Let's do the options dot security. Well, so now what I have done is, okay, I've I've made a login method. I've also put this slash login in here. Route, I put router slash login, and investor also router slash investor. And I put new code to validate the user, and inside validate user, we are checking if this username is present in the database or not. If it's present, then we'll check this password with the hash password. And if it's successful, we'll just return the user here. And then we'll generate a token. And while generating the token, what we do is we'll add this username and email to the claims as a subject. And we'll also put the expiry date by putting these expiry date, signing credentials, audience, and issuer. And we'll create a token. We'll send this object inside this token handler dot create token. So it's just a class inside JWT. And for that, what we need is, we need this security, JWT securities, secret key and expire time. So we'll take this from the app settings. For that, what we have done is we have injected this in the constructor JWT options. So now we'll need to add this in the app settings. So let's do that now. So now let's go to app settings. Yeah, so in app settings, I have JWT bearer token. Yeah, okay. And expire time in seconds is 60. Audience is localhost issuer your and this one. And here let's give the same one that we will be using our port. Let's see what is our port at the moment. So our port is 7111. Let's put this one. And if we run this one now, it should work. Let's try to log in now. Admin random @ 123 pass. Okay, now it's giving us the token. So we've got this token now and message success. Okay. So if we got this token, this means we have logged in successfully. And next time, when we want to access any other authenticated pages, we'll need to send this token in header Then only we can access our other pages or other controllers. So to verify, to check if this JWT, what's inside JWT token, we can use JWT.io page. Let's go to JWT.io and here delete this one and paste this our token. So it will decode this algorithm for us. So inside header we have algorithm is HS256. So and type is JWT. So it's using this HS256 algorithm. And inside payload we have user information like email, expiry date, and audience. Audience means our user URL, expiry date, email, unique name admin, etc. And verify signature. So this signature is used to check the integrity of this algorithm. If somebody changed or tempered our algorithm here, then this signature will check will let us know that this algorithm is tempered and we will not be able to validate this token. We will not be able to log in, which is an invalid token. So this is how JWT tokens work. So currently we have now login. Our login API is done now. Register and login is done. So now if suppose if you want to add, we can we can authenticate this weather forecast API. For that, let's put authorize in weather forecast. Authorize. Let's run this one. As you can see, once we are getting this token, and inside JWT.io, if we put this, we get this decoded header. In the header, we have this the algorithm SS256 and how this token was encoded. The payload has user information and a signature. Check the integrity of this token. And now, if we try to access this weather forecast, it should give us 401. 401 means unauthorized. See, now we can't access this 401. So to access this, we need to send this token inside our API. So we can do that from here. So to access this API endpoint, what we need to do is we need to send our token inside header, then only we can do that, access it. So to check if our token is working or not, let's use Postman. And inside Postman, we'll try to consume this API by putting token inside our header. So let's open Postman. So let's open the Postman and put our URL in here, /login, and inside header, we'll need to put let's say authorize. There's authorization, and we need to put a text bearer and then paste the token. Yeah, bearer space token. Remember. and it's not login. So what we want to access is weather forecast. So let's type in WWT weather weather forecast slash weather forecast. Now it's saying 404 not found. I think there is some issue with the endpoint. If should be slash weather WEATHER so it's FORE forecast. So it's saying 401 unauthorized. That means we're still not we're still unauthorized. That means let's try to let's try to do login from here as well. Let's use the same endpoint instead of forecast. Where forecast? Let's try login, and here let's go to raw and JSON, and let's send username and password. So return. Okay, it should be was not yet. Okay, now it's return as the token. Now copy this token and go here to better forecast inside here. Let's put PEAR slash token. Okay, now it's coming. As you can see, the weather forecast is giving us the results. So in this way, we can authorize our endpoints using Identity and JWT tokens. So this is the way we use Identity to register and log in our endpoints. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learn how to make the REST API endpoints using Identity, and guys, I hope guys don't forget to like and subscribe my channel and click the bell button, and this really encourages me to make even more videos like this. And if you want any other videos, any other similar videos, don't forget to mention in the comment section. Just write in the comment section what you want. If you got any error in this application, just type in the comments what error you've got, and I'll try to resolve the errors as well. And I would really appreciate, guys, if you share this video in your social medias as well. So thank you, everybody. If you also want me to make a front end, yes, a front end to like register and log in, then just comment and I'll try to make the front end as well. So this was for today. Thank you guys.